It's still starting. We're hanging out with Bill Whipple, talking about native nuts. How are you doing today, Bill?
Very well, thank you, Amanda.
Oh, well.
How are you doing?
I'm doing great.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for doing it. Just getting started. For your talk for the Organic Growers School, you're going to be talking about native nuts. Why are native nuts so beneficial? What's the deal?
What's the big deal with native nuts? Well, nuts are a great food. So nutritionally, they have so many good qualities that are good for our health. They are, the big thing is that they're trees. So trees are deep-rooted plants, so they're constantly pulling up trace nutrients and bringing them up and putting them into their seeds and their fruits. In cultivated fields, a lot of our trace nutrients and elements have disappeared. So since World War II and the Green Revolution, 76% of the trace elements in our food have disappeared. And so people need to feel like things like obesity happens because people feel like they haven't had enough because they haven't. There's no nutrients in it. So they eat more and there's trashy food. And nuts, actually, I was just reading the other day, give you a sense of fulfillment because they are so nutrient dense and you end up actually trashy food. All right. So that's one of the things that I like about tree crops. Now, the fact that they're native is important because in my class, you prompted me with a question. It's like, well, what are you going to be talking about in your class? But one of the things I won't be talking about, native trees. I don't need to talk about soil ecology. I don't need to talk about fertilizer. I don't need to talk about weed management. I don't need to talk about anything because they just grow, right? They're native. They're adapted. They don't need chemicals and sprays and care and pampering like all these other cultivated crops do.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
A lot of the trees that you grow, do you start them from seedlings or do you graft them in?
Both.
Both.
I do both. So we start, when we do plant an orchard, which is you also want to know the difference between the Nutty Buddy Collective and the cornucopia project. Project is a land-based orchard project. So we are planting orchards around Asheville, and the key to that is we have 100-year leases on conservation land, which I'm going to talk about in the class about the strategies we have to access land that actually grow trees that it takes 20 years to grow without a yield. Land and make it economically feasible to grow orchards. So nobody's planting orchards out because you just can't afford it. But if you can access land, we have no debt. We have 8 acres of prime orchard land around Asheville where it's costing $20,000 an acre or something crazy like that.
Wow.
Now.
Yeah.
So, and we haven't incurred $1 of debt over that.
That business model is really fascinating. So that's one of the topics you'll be discussing in your class.
Yeah, strategies of getting these native nut trees going without going into debt, right? So, yeah.
Well,
I forgot where I was going with that. I got sidetracked. I apologize.
No, we were talking about why trees versus other types of crops, and I love that you said what you wouldn't be talking about in your class. You
said you asked me about which planting seeds or grafting. So that's where we got. That's where I got.
Okay.
So we do the grafting and seeds, and we talk about the difference about that in the class because I do want to talk about planting orchards, but really the emphasis is on the idea of harvesting native trees that are already in existence. So basically, you can become a nut farmer instantly by just walking out into your neighbor's yard or park and gathering native nuts. The secret is so they're already there. You don't have to have debt. You don't have to plant the trees. You don't have to maintain them for 20 years. You just go outside. There's trees everywhere dropping nuts. How to efficiently harvest them and process them and get them to people. And that's what a large part of my class is going to be, is about how to utilize what's open source, right? So what's already available to all of us. So like how many taxis does the biggest taxi company in the world own? Any. Uber Taxi owns none. Right. The biggest hotel chain in the world, Airbnb, owns no hotels. So why does the largest agricultural conglomerate that we're going to make have to own a single tree or even an acre of land? I'm talking about farming in a whole new way where the lines between forestry and agriculture and our commons all blur. And all this is open source, like it used to be before 10,000 years ago when annual agriculture took over.
This sounds related to a cornucopia project.
Exactly.
So part of that project is setting up different facilities that can process nuts around Western North Carolina and further, correct?
Oh, yeah. I mean, all over the world.
So
we're going to be the world's largest agricultural conglomerate. We're going to overshadow all the other ones, and we're not going to be owned by anybody. It's all going to be open source. It's going to be community based. And so we don't want to, we've got an idea, be like the hierarchical, we are the central nuttery processing place. Autonomous nutteries all along. We're going to start on the I-81 corridor. We're just, Abington, Roanoke, Blacksburg, Lexington, Charlottesville, Harrisonburg, Johnson City are all towns that we're working with to create these independent nut processing facilities. Like Italy has its own, each town has its own olive oil processing plant. So we used to, here in North Carolina or in America, we used to have local grain mills everywhere.
Yeah, local.
Right? And the farmers local would bring their grain, they would be ground, and they would use it however they wanted. Well, we can bring that back. It's all about the re-implementation of small-scale agriculture and us as communities taking back control of the wealth that we are creating from the land. So instead of sending it off to the middleman, to the big business, so instead of growing high-quality grass-fed beef here, pastured, sending it off to Nebraska to get corn-fed and fattened up inappropriately, and then we buy it back. We don't even buy our own beef. It has to go through the middleman. Well, that stuff's got to stop. I'm talking about we're keeping it local. We're going to do it ourselves. We're not going to be hierarchical. We're going to be cooperative. It's where we got to go.
Sign me up. What a transformative vision. I really admire this. How is this also going to be beneficial to young farmers starting out? I know that that's a big focus for you, is wanting to really reach younger farmers.
Okay, so I was talking to a friend of mine who was just at the Southern Sog Conference, and a huge conversation at this conference amongst all the people was all the farmers are aging out. There's no young farmers coming in. It's too hard. It's too marginal. The isolation is difficult. My friend said that all the friends that I started farming with are gone or divorced now. They just couldn't handle. Just can't handle as a human being isolated, making no money, working your ass off. The whole farming concept that we do now is come out of this sort of isolationist, sole proprietor, model, and is not relational. So what I want to create, I just invented this the other day. I want to create a whole new certification for farming, which is called, instead of organic, which obviously is no longer meaning anything, it's like relational farming. Like farming really is about relations. It's not only about relationship with land, it's about relation with your neighbors, it's a relation with your customers, it's a relationship. It's just all about relations. And so the Cornucopia project is all about relations. And so I'm very excited about the idea of, young farmers. You don't want to make a commitment with all your money and buy a farm and it be the wrong place or go the wrong things. And so, people are very mobile now. So the idea of the Cornucopia project is in being a tree farmer. You can be a tree farmer wherever you go. You can take a flash drive, right, with contacts and ideas. And you could go to a town, you could plug your flash drive in, and there would be a map of all the trees that are harvestable. Contacts, talk to the restaurants, talk to the nonprofits there, set up, get a foraging network up, and you can just set up shop and one fall and be like a migrant nomadic farmer and be a nut farmer. You gather these nuts and you find out where the closest cornucopia processing plant is. You bring all your nuts there, you get paid for the nuts, or better yet, you get traded product in return. Network marketer. So then you start selling these products. So you made money bringing those nuts in, and you're going to make money selling them, creating more market, and the thing just ripples out.
All while being really mobile and really traveling light.
Right. So because we're in a time now where, you know, it used to be, you know, 10 years ago, you would hear about the zones, the climate zones moving 30 miles north every year, right? Well, that's way faster now. I don't know how fast. And so everything is changing. Everything, you can't just sit on a piece of property and think that it's going to be like it was. I've been growing pear trees for 30 years, and I had a huge die-off this year. Never seen anything like it before. It's like all of a sudden 90% of what I have in the ground could go anytime. Right? And so it's time to realize that we need to be more mobile. We need to be more adaptive. There's already, we've got climate refugees and mortalities and things are moving, and we need to be adaptive, and we need to focus on generalists. So these nut trees are, I mean, like one of the primary crops, the hickory tree, goes from northern Florida to southern Maine. You know, so there's a huge range. There's a lot of adaptability there. So a lot of flexibility. So it's going to be how to be adaptive and working with.
Sounds like a whole new way of thinking about food and growing food and traveling.
And the commons. And so young people can try this out without committing and without debt, and can move around, and they can incorporate in life. So you don't have to be just a farmer. But in the fall, you spend a little bit more time with the nuts, and then when the season's over, you go back to your job and you make money and blah, blah, blah. And you can sort of transition much more gently than an all or nothing sort of thing, which makes it really inexpensive.
So much investment right up front. That's incredible.
Yeah.
I'm really looking forward to your class. It sounds like a lot of paradigm shifts and other ways of thinking about what we're doing.
Oh, big time. Yeah, it's big time. It's one thing I wanted to show you is within a year, we created this stuff right here.
Oh, hickory oil.
Hickory oil.
Okay.
Yeah.
Extra Virginian.
Extra Virginian. That's right. Hickory oil, super high quality, super sophisticated crop. So I've been doing the farmers markets for 30 years. Very few people have perennial crops. You know, I've been growing pears, and very few people have annual vegetables. That's where they start, and that's about as far as they can go. And nobody has nuts, because nuts take forever to grow.
Right. Yeah.
But they're an amazing food, right? And so, and I think of nut oil as being like one of the most sophisticated products to grow as a farmer. And we did it in a year.
That's
from wild.
That's stuff. Incredible. So that was from people collecting on their own hickory nuts, taking it to a processing facility.
Bring it to us, and we pressed it in oil. We bought a very expensive oil press, and we think we're going to be able to pay it off this year.
Oh, congratulations. Wow.
Wild nuts that we found.
So how do people start getting involved? Should they contact you, contact the cornucopia?
Well, come to the OGS.
Okay.
It's a great way. Come check it out. We'll have a booth there, and we're very, approachable and like talking with people. And I'm doing a class. Come to the class, and we'll get you hooked up and into what we call the nut work. All right. So we want to make friends. It's all about relations and friends, and try and figure out how. I mean, we want to get people from other communities to come in. Like I want some people. I was hoping people from Greenville come, people from Charlotte come,
hear that?
From the Triangle come. Right. So all these people from our region come to this great conference and figure out, where you can plug in. And go to the website, cornucopiaproject.com, and there's a page called Go Nuts, and that's the Forager's Handbook. And you can actually download what we're buying and get more information. And what will happen is through that, people start gathering nuts. And what we want to do is we want to tithe money back. So if you bring us $1,000 worth of nuts, $100 back to you, so you can get earmarked for starting your nuttery. So you can start building a facility of your own, because it's beneficial for us to have other nutteries around in the region, because we may have a big year one year, right? But next year we may not have a big year, but Greenville will. Mm-hmm. And so what happens is Greenville may not have, and that's the way MAST works. And we're really kind of getting into it here.
Oh, this sounds great, and that's the best part of Organic Growers School is seeing connections among ideas, and this idea about relationships that you're talking about. You start to see how everything fits together and meet so many people and come across ideas that you've never even considered.
Yeah. So this is big idea stuff. This is really big.
All the way down to the nuts and bolts of it too, it sounds like.
Exactly. Yeah.
One more question I had for you is, what's your favorite nut? Do you have favorite nuts or a current favorite? Acorn. What is it about acorns that you like?
They're so versatile. Mm-hmm. The gist of it is the cornucopia project wants to completely replace annual commodity crops. So instead of corn and soybeans, we want to have acorns.
Awesome.
And acorns can do it, and we can do it, and that's how we're going to change the world, because annual agriculture, commodity agriculture, is destroying our planet.
Yes.
It's cheap commodity food that only a handful of people are making money off of. The farmers aren't, and we need to stop that nonsense. It's an ideology. It's not a practical thing. And growing trees and commodity trees for our commodity crops, because that's what we're doing with nut crops. We're growing. We have meat, dairy, flour, and oil, just from perennial nut trees. Those are our big commodity crops. We can do all that. Mm-hmm. Acorns.
Yeah, I love how.
Let alone hickories and walnuts and hazelnuts and chestnuts and all the other amazing fruit nuts we have.
Yeah, I love how your work and your ideas seem simultaneously very visionary and big thinking, and also very pragmatic and very direct and very tangible. I'm really looking forward to your talk, Bill.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to sharing it with the great crowd that OGS always draws.
Any final words for your fans?
Well, I don't know fans, but no, come to OGS and check out the cornucopia project, and we're overlapping with so many things, and figure out where the overlap is between a cornucopia project and native nuts and you.
Thank you so much, Bill. Really looking forward to it. Have a lovely day.
You bet. My pleasure, Amanda. Later.
Later.